Welcome to the weekly update of Israel and Christians today. It's the 16th of October 2024. Israel is fighting a war on 7 fronts for its survival. Its main enemy is the revolutionary regime in Tehran, the radical Shiite Mullahs who hijacked Iran in 1979. Their goal is to destroy the West and to export their revolutionary Islamic ideology around the world. The regime in Tehran attacks Israel directly, as we've seen in recent weeks, but operates also through its many allies and proxies in the region. Its most important proxy is Hezbollah in Lebanon. But we who observe the events in and around Israel from the outside do well to remember that there is so much more to Israel than war and conflict. It might be that we only see the conflict in the news, but in the meantime, many things are happening that are very positive. Israel is a Jewish state, the Jewish people are a nation, and the modern state of Israel is the homeland of the Jewish people, but it is also home to both Jews and non-Jews. Over 20% of the citizens of Israel are non-Jewish. They're Arab and other ethnic origins. They're Muslims and Christians and others. And in just decades, amidst many challenges and difficulties, both internal and external, together, Jews and non-Jews have built a thriving, dynamic country. Israel is a startup nation. Israel is leading in many areas of technology. Israel is leading in the provision of security and in the provision of humanitarian help in many parts of the world. Now, this coming week, the Jewish people are celebrating Sukkot, or the Feast of Tabernacles, an annual week-long festival they are commanded to observe in the Torah. During this week, Jews are commanded to live in shelters outside, the roof of which is made of branches so they can see the stars in the sky. The tradition developed to conclude with a day set aside to celebrate the Torah, known as Simchat Torah, meaning delight in the Torah. It was on Simchat Torah a year ago that Hamas brutally invaded Israel and massacred and violated 1,200 innocent people and took hundreds of hostages back into their underground tunnels in the Gaza Strip. It's perhaps no coincidence that it's just this week the head of Hamas in Gaza, Sinwar, has been eliminated by the Israeli Defense Forces. This season of Sukkot is a reminder that the Jewish people made their way through the wilderness for 40 years before reaching the Promised Land, protected only by the shelter of temporary booths. It recalls the trials and ordeals facing the Jewish people, their reliance on God for His provision and the hope of the ultimate promises given to them. These things that applied in their journey from Egypt to the Promised Land apply equally today. And prophetically, being the start of the harvest season, this time of Sukkot also points towards the ingathering of the nations. Think of the prophet Zechariah, who refers to the nations who will go up to Jerusalem year after year to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles after the Messiah has come. And so we in the nations are reminded today that our present and future is deeply connected with God's path with the Jewish people. Only when the Jews are fully regathered in the land, deep connection with their Creator, that we Gentiles will also learn to be dependent on God. Then, but not before then, will our nations experience the peace and security for which they so deeply long. And how different that is to what we often see today, especially in the media. It seems that the nations, the Gentiles, are only interested in criticizing Israel. Israel, it seems, can do no right. The United Nations has become a place where Israel's worst enemies spew their hatred of the Jewish people without any consequences. Which is not to say, of course, that Israel can't be criticized, but the hatred of Israel and its condemnation of Israel and the denial of its right to exist is something else. Let us pray this coming week for the Jewish people around the world, for Israel, and for all in the land. Let us also pray for the enemies of the Jewish people, that their hearts will be turned. Let us pray for the leaders of the nations, that they will understand the difficulties and challenges facing Israel and recognize the many blessings brought to the world by the Jewish people and the state of Israel. Thank you for listening. This was the weekly update, and we welcome you next week to the next edition of Israel and Christians Today Weekly Update. God bless and have a great weekend.